There comes a time in every life when the big questions fade, and we are left staring into the quiet spaces of our daily routine. It's not always the tragedies or the miracles that define us. It's the in-between moments, the silent mornings, the quiet walks, the small decisions, and the unnoticed tears. These are the places where our souls truly live. And yet, this is also where we often feel most alone. Not because God is far, but because we believe the lie that He only shows up when thunder rolls and the sky splits open. But what if I told you that the Creator of the universe delights in walking with you not just in your major life decisions, but in the unseen details of your ordinary day? What if the God you've been calling out to in crisis is actually the same God whispering to you as you scroll through your phone, tie your shoelaces, or sip your tea in silence? This is where the first truth comes alive. God is not just for your emergencies. He is for your everything. When you ask Him what to wear, where to go, how to speak, who to love. Yes, even when you bring Him your confusion over what to cook for dinner or how to respond to a friend's text, He is there. Not as a passive observer, but as an eager participant. The sacred is not hidden in some far-off temple. It's in your kitchen, in your morning commute, in the thoughts that come just before sleep. When you include Him in what others call small, you are abiding in Him. You are honoring the truth that He is not distant, but delightfully near. He is not a God of conditions. He is a God of connection. And here's what is truly staggering. He doesn't desire to be part of your life because He wants control. He desires to be near because He wants communion, connection, relationship. Not the kind that's buried in ritual or locked behind doctrine, but the kind that a friend has with a friend. That's the second truth. God doesn't just want your service. He wants your company. He made you not as a tool, but as a treasure, not as a project, but as a person He loves deeply. Your authenticity moves Him. Your vulnerability. Those moments when you whisper a prayer between two meetings, when you cry without words, when you pause your scrolling just to say, God, what do you think? That's what heaven calls beautiful. It's not how loud your worship is or how many verses you can quote. It's not the size of your following or the perfection of your performance. It's your sincerity. It's the way you come to Him not as a stranger, but as a child. That's where true intimacy begins. So many of us carry the hidden fear that our voice is too small, that our prayers are too weak, too repetitive, too unimpressive to matter. We feel embarrassed about our doubts, ashamed of how often we come back with the same needs, the same confusion, the same unanswered questions. But that's where the third truth breaks through like light in a dark room. God listens. Not reluctantly, not distractedly, but with the full attention of someone who truly loves. Every time you speak, even when your words are clumsy, even when you're unsure of what to say, even when your mind wanders halfway through the prayer, He hears you. He does not roll His eyes. He does not sigh in frustration. He leans in. He draws near. And often, He answers before you even know how to ask. Remember that time peace settled over you for no reason? That moment of clarity in the fog of your decisions? That strange comfort when you thought you were alone? That was Him. He knows you so well, He sometimes responds before your mouth forms the words. But He still treasures it when you come, when you stop for even a second and say His name. When you invite Him into the tiny corners of your life, you are creating a sacred space where love can grow. You're not bothering Him. You're not wasting His time. You are worshiping, not with songs, but with trust. And maybe that's the shift we need today. Maybe instead of chasing grand revelations, we begin to honor the simple faith, the kind that keeps coming back, keeps asking, keeps trusting. Maybe we let go of the idea that God is waiting for us to be more spiritual, more polished, more impressive. Maybe we let Him meet us right here, as we are. Because the truth is, your whispered prayers, your hesitant hope, your willingness to believe again, those are mountains being moved. Not in ways the world sees, but in ways heaven applauds. So today, stop and think. Not about how strong your faith feels. Not about how many days you've kept up with spiritual routines. But about how often you've simply turned your eyes upward in the middle of your mess and said, God, are you here? And hear this. Every single time He was. Every single time He is. And He's not keeping score. He's keeping you. Walk with Him in the small things. Bring Him the questions that seem too silly. Tell Him what you really think. Invite Him into the ordinary. And there, in the sacred silence, He will remind you, you are not overlooked, you are not unheard, and you are not alone. You are loved deeply, endlessly, eternally. And that love begins not in perfection, but in presence. Just keep coming. Just keep asking. Just keep being you with Him. That's all He's ever wanted. Have you ever stood at a window on a rainy day, watching the drops fall slowly down the glass, feeling a quiet ache inside your chest? That feeling, the one that whispers that something's missing, something you can't quite explain. That's the soul reaching for connection. Not the kind we get from likes or texts or weekend plans. No, this is deeper. It's the need to be known, to be seen, to be understood at the level where words don't always reach. That's where God meets us. Not in the noise, but in the silence. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. And that brings us to the fourth truth. God honors even the quietest acts of faith. We often think we need to be bold, loud, or spiritual giants to move heaven. But God says no. The whispered prayer in the dark, the simple act of turning off the noise to say His name, the decision to trust Him just one more day. Those are the moments that shake the spiritual world. You may not see the mountains move. You may not feel thunder beneath your feet. But in the quiet, He is working. In your hidden sacrifices, in your unseen obedience, in your choice to believe again after disappointment, God is building something sacred. You don't need a platform to be powerful in His kingdom. You don't need prestige to be precious. Your small steps of faith are doing more than you know. They are making space for miracles. And here's the fifth point. God answers in His time, but His delays are not His denials. This is hard, isn't it? Waiting, especially when you've prayed with everything inside you. When you've hoped and cried and still the answer doesn't come. You begin to wonder, did I pray wrong? Did God change His mind? Did He forget me? But let me tell you something that the silence often hides. God's promises don't expire. His word doesn't return void. What He has spoken over your life is still alive. You may not see it, but it is moving. You may not feel it, but it is growing. The delay is preparation. The silence is strategy. He is aligning things beyond your sight, shaping you into someone who can carry what you've prayed for. You see, God's not just interested in answering your prayer. He wants to answer it in a way that won't crush you, but crown you. So don't mistake the waiting room for a forgotten place. It's the workshop of heaven. Now the sixth truth. God uses even our pain to create purpose. Look back at your life. Really look, not just at the highs, but at the broken pieces. The moments you thought would destroy you. The heartbreak, the betrayal, the loss. What happened in those seasons? You grew. You deepened. You discovered things about yourself and about God that sunshine never taught you. It was in the valley that you learned to pray differently. It was in the silence that your soul leaned in more closely. You came out of those fires changed, not destroyed, but refined. That's the beautiful paradox of God's love. He doesn't waste your suffering. He transforms it. He turns your scars into strength, your tears into testimony. You begin to see others more clearly, to love more gently, to stand more humbly. And that is redemption. And finally, the seventh point. God's promises are alive, unchanging, eternal, anchored in truth. People will fail us. Words will be broken. Plans will fall apart. But not His promises. When God says, I love you, it doesn't come with conditions. When He says, I will never leave you, He doesn't mean unless you mess up. His promises are not based on your performance. They are rooted in His nature. And He cannot lie. He cannot break His word. The same voice that spoke galaxies into existence is the voice that whispers to your heart today. You are mine. You are not forgotten. I am still working. And so, as we end this moment together, let me remind you of something holy. You are not walking this life alone. Every prayer you've prayed, He heard. Every tear you've cried, He caught. every time you chose faith instead of fear, every time you trusted when you had no reason to, every time you said, God, I still believe, He was there. And He still is. Keep walking with Him. Keep whispering His name. Keep including Him in your ordinary. That's where intimacy begins. That's where transformation lives. And that, my friend, is more than enough.